mainly what we do is produce those, but what I found is you always have coons wherever there's females. So I adapted a way for the trigger to be able to trap coons when you don't have the hogs, but the main reason was that I started looking at the decline of the turkey population and some of the issues with the current ways to trap coons. Now the dog-proof traps, when you can do like a cluster at a feeder, and that saves a little bit of time instead of having to put out one and travel all the property. You know, just focus 5 in one feeder at one time and then work to the next feeder each weekend, and that will save a little bit of time. It's still very time consuming. So my thought process was that people could have control over when they're trapped, when they're going to be on the property, and you can trap 4 or 5 at a time, you know, or more. It kind of gives you more control over what you're doing and saves a lot of time. To where, say you bait it, if you know you're going to be back at the camp next weekend, you bait it on Sunday, watch it all week, and then Thursday or Friday night, whenever you plan on going, you can remotely trap them and still get there within 24 hours to humanely get rid of them. And so that was kind of my thought process for designing.
I thought Jared did a wonderful job on covering the basics of the trapping and all the different species. But what I'm going to cover mostly is hogs. How many of you have problems with hogs? Everybody has problems with hogs? As y'all know, they do over $3.5 billion in destructive damage in this country every year, just in crops. And that's the crops is what we're counting on to feed our families. So it can be very detrimental. And the problem is they multiply so fast. They get 3 litters, up to 3 litters every year. They can have anywhere from 12 to 18 litter. You can imagine by the time they're mature enough to have a litter, they can have another one. It's just, and they multiply. But there's several different techniques and different strategies that we use while we're trying to trap and eradicate our hogs. And of course, a lot of folks like to get out there and enjoy hunting them. They make good table fare. But at the rate that they multiply and reproduce, taking them out one at a time is a very, very painstaking process, and it can take a long, long time. So therefore, we count on traps, and there's several different traps on the market that you can use. The one that we have out here on the trailer is just a basic cage trap. It's a spring-loaded door. It will allow the pig or the hog to go into the door, but it won't allow it to come back out. So it's called. The advantage to a trap like that, they're very mobile, they're pretty lightweight, they're easy to handle, and they're more affordable. They're not quite as expensive. However, the downside is, as you can see, because of the size of the trap, you're lucky if you're going to catch 1, maybe 2 at a time, depending on their size. So most of the groups that we see of these wild hogs have got anywhere from 12 to 15, 20, 30 at a time. And so if you're only taking out 1 or 2, you're educating the rest of them, making them that much more difficult to trap. And I'm sure Jared will tell you it doesn't matter if it's a bobcat or a coyote. All these animals, including whitetails, if you don't believe it, are social animals. I'm not saying that they sit here and talk, but they are social. They do communicate. So when you start applying pressure to one, they all feel it.
They see one in the trap, the other one see it, and it's over with.
And hogs, if you all know, pigs are very, very intelligent creatures. And they can learn to recognize what a trap and what a trap set looks like. Therefore, we count on some of the larger trapping systems. The one that we most commonly use is a product by Bull Creek called the Game Changer. It's one of the drop style traps, and they can be very effective. They're not quite as mobile, but my wife and I both can set one up just ourselves in a matter of just a few minutes. The nice thing about it is they have a monitoring system that's a live 24/7, 365 monitoring system called the Hog Eye camera system, and it's a live satellite feed. It's directly connected to a link on your phone or an app on your computer, and you can sit there and watch that camera live. It'll also alert you when it detects motion, so therefore, if you're asleep and it's 2:30 in the morning, your phone will ding. You look on your phone and you can pull up the trap immediately. You can say, okay, I've got 10 in the trap, there's still 3 outside. What are you going to do? You're going to try to let the other 3 come inside, and this is my wife gets very addicted to that. And she'll sit there and watch those pigs, and she'll be up there all night, and she'll just wait until the very last one gets in there, and then bam, she'll pull the trigger and drops it. So we have several clients that we manage property for that has this problem, and we'll go in and help them eradicate it. And you may say, well, a trap like that, wow, they're so expensive, and you're right, they are. But guess what? There's a lot of service provider companies out there like ourselves that have access to these traps, and you can rent these traps. These traps are rented by the month. Basic fees it can be applied whether you have the time to man that trap or not. Our companies or service provider companies like ours will. That can get into some expense there, but you look at the pros and cons of what you get out of the trapping, it pays for itself. So it's a really good thing that you need to stay on top of that. But hogs are something that you really do need to get a handle on if you're having issues on your properties or in your area. You need to just take a look at it. Other than that, hogs are just what they are. You're not going to catch much of them in a leg hole. You're not going to catch many of them in a snare. It's very difficult to do that because they're just so intelligent, and you don't really want to just catch one at a time. You want to try to catch the whole group. So, we really count on a lot of the surveillance, our surveys, scouting, and then of course all the detriment and all the damage that they do pretty much provides the sign for you. But other than that, does anybody have any questions on hog hunting or hog trapping or the basics of where we're at? What do you use for bait? Sour corn? Corn. Basic corn. Keep it simple. We don't have to, the hog will really eat just about anything, but the easiest thing, simplest thing, the cleanest thing to deal with is just a regular old bag of corn.
You have to set a sign with them or just put it out there?
So if we have a trap, what we're going to do is we're going to go and pre-bait that site. We're going to pre-bait that site for about a week to 2 weeks. We'll continuously run our surveys, and even if we have the trap in the area just for the pigs to get used to, we may not have it set. We want the pigs to come in and frequent as much as they can and try to get as comfortable to that trap as possible. And then when we pour that corn inside that trap, we want them to all come in. So that was a great question. Corn is a basic bait for hogs. It usually goes very well. Anything sweet smelling, you can take that corn, in fact, and you can mix Kool-Aid with it. I've seen people actually take Hawaiian punch, literally, and mix it with it.
Marc's bigger too.
Who doesn't like Hawaiian punch? Bait is important, but corn is really works great for us. You don't have to go that extent, but it's just a step-by-step process. It's like any of the other trapping that we've talked about today, guys. More turkey hunting. You just got to get out there and do it and try. Our company, Outfitters Depot, has been providing all the wildlife nuisance control for the city of Hoover for the last 6 years. So we deal with all types of adversities. We deal with all types of people. Y'all may have noticed recently we put a post out there looking for trappers in Birmingham. We had a particular job. It would have been a significant job, but it involved one of the county schools. And it was so, I think the job was going to be so intense, there was going to be too much public eye on what was going on. And our company did not want the liability of having a coyote being trapped in front of little Johnny at school at 11 o'clock during the day. Unfortunately, we know a lot of people get opinionated now, so we just decided that it wasn't a good fit for us. But you have to pick and choose. But with any of the trapping that we've talked about today, persistency is what's going to pay off. Persistency and patience. And I think a lot of people are more intimidated by trapping because they're afraid they might get hurt or they just simply don't know what to do. And I can tell you, none of us came out of the womb knowing. So the only way that we can learn is by going with other people that know. Go with other people that have more experience. and go with people that have been trying. It never hurts to try something. So whether it's a hog, a coon, a coyote, bobcat, you just have to
Even to a
continuously
squirrel.
go after it. Or even
You're not
squirrel.
born knowing how to trap a squirrel. You think it's easy to, you try it and it's not the right way, but you do it this way and you'll catch one every day. You do it other ways, you might not catch. Another thing with coons, not get off subject again, but I just something I thought of. I've told you a little bit. I have tried this. I have set a trap in my yard and put sit all around it and left it there for months. Freshened it up and everything. I move it over to the edge of the woods and catch first night. Coons are kind of lazy in a way, but I don't know if they're lazy, but they know where they're going. I touched on it a while ago. They're going to there and back. They know they're safe. They know they're going to be full. They don't have to meander over here. So that's the key. I learned it on a video when I was young trapping. Some man, he was talking about the Burger King. I don't know if you ever saw that video. The Burger King, they know where Burger King is.
Yeah.
They don't have to stop at the quick market to get a bite to eat. They're going to Burger King.
That's right.
Okay, so he would set up feeders and stuff like that so he could run his dogs on there. But he would set traps up at that corn feeder and he'd catch every night. He said, if you set it off to the side, you won't catch. And it's true. I've tried it. These little deer trails, you set right in the trail, you'll catch. Set it to the side, it might take 6, 7, 8 days before you catch one if you're lucky. And it makes a big difference just if you feed on your coons.
For us, we trap year round, and so depending on what the season is depending on what my target species is. Jared didn't mention that. He may go after everything all year long. This time of year, when I know it's fawning season, I'm really going to trap heavy. I'm going to focus on my coyotes primarily. I know that's my #1 predator against whitetail fawns. 90% of the mortality rate, overall mortality rate, is attributed to fawns. That doesn't mean 90% of our fawns die every year. That means of the percentage that did die, 90% of those were killed or were attributed to coyotes. So this time of year, I'm going to focus all of my efforts, particularly on that coyote, because I know my fawns are dropping. I want my fawn recruitment rate to keep going up. From there, when I look at my target species and my turkeys, going back to February, February, March is when I'm going to identify my nesting predators and I'm going to get them in the heart. I look at my deer hunters as my best friend when I'm trying to track my nesting predators, because now that the state came up with the brilliant idea to legalize baiting, they have made it very easy for us to go in and target those nesting predators, because every one of your bait piles, you've got coons or you've got nesting predators. Am I right or wrong? Right, so you've already done all the hard work for you. So the bottom properties that I manage, we'll do a pre-season raccoon roundup or a nesting predator roundup and a postseason. My postseason is more important to me when I'm targeting my turkeys and my turkey populations than my pre-season. My pre-season is just going to help deter or knock down those numbers. Any biologist will tell you, and I am not a biologist, let me make that clear. I'm not a biologist, I don't have a doctorate degree or none of that. It's called the School of Hard Knocks. I'm 48 years old and I've done this since I was 22 years old, right out of college, and I've ran right beside a lot of those guys. So let me not misrepresent myself. But those guys, they're my colleagues, and I count on them, and I trust them, and they're very helpful. But they will tell you, for the most part, when you go in and you remove these predators, more to move in. That's true. That's true. You know, that's why I target my specific animals in different seasons. If I'm trying to help my poults, my hatch rate, my survival rate, look, you'll never have to worry about hunting a turkey off the limb if he never gets there. Right? That's right. So y'all can try all you want to, but if he doesn't ever get out of the nest, you'll never have to worry about hunting him off the limb. So you've got to be able to help those animals get to that point and be able to at least survive long enough to get on the limb. And we can do that by identifying our nesting predators. And it's not just a raccoon. We do know foxes at that time are very detrimental to your hens. They will actually go in and pounce on the nest and they'll target that hen. He's not necessarily concerned about that egg as much as he wants that breast. And so you need to specifically target those animals at that time. But now, during the fawning season, is when I primarily target my coyotes. So it can be seasonal and you can have fun doing all of it. The dog-proof traps that Jared talked about, my old eyes, I can't see them. So believe it or not, I paint all mine orange. think coon matters, he don't care if it's pink.
I'm calling on this.
Say it respectfully, it's really hard to deter them from anything. So I want to make it easy as on myself as I possibly can. And another system that I use is that saber-tooth drag down there on the
Yeah,
bottom.
I forgot to talk about that.
In my part of the country, up in Jefferson County, it's all rock. If I try to drive one of these anchor stakes into the ground, it's gone. I say bye-bye to it. So I basically take a saber-tooth drag like that, and I'll throw it up into some fruit, pull it tight, or even wrap it around itself. It's not going anywhere. The other system that I like to use is just a basic wire attached to my trap. I'll take a sapling, I'll take a sapling and I'll wrap it around the sapling and then bury my cassette, especially if I'm on the side of the road, anything along that lines. It just makes my system go a lot quicker and easier. Jared definitely gets more in depth. He gets more thorough on bait sets than I do. I'm kind of a lazy trapper. I'm trying to cover a lot of ground. Our company's managing over 20,000 acres in Jefferson County, so we got to go. One thing I do when I pull out on a large tract of land is I automatically grid it out. There's no way I can cover 3,000 acres by myself overnight. So you want to start on the grid. I like to start on the grid, especially on my nesting predators. Now your coyotes, not necessarily bobcats, but your coyotes, like Jared said, will tend to make circles. They'll come through, they'll be gone for 2 or 3 days, and they'll come through. The best friend that all of us have in here, and every one of us have is available, is called a cell camera. It's your eyes and ears when you're not there. They've even gone as far as to make it where they send it to your phone now, so you don't even really have to go to the woods and check it. But by law, if you set a trap, not only does it have to have a personal ID tag. Now, since we trap in the city of Hoover, we have to have a Hoover PD tag on all of our stuff. So, not by law, you have to check those sets every single day. There is an argument that says if you have a cell camera, it's live, it's working. You know, are you checking it or are you not? Well, let me tell you, I can tell you for a fact that is not always guaranteed. I know myself in the last couple of weeks, I had an employee that was trying to convince me that it wasn't necessary to go and do this since we had this, and guess what? We had 2 animals that were left overnight. You know, now I'm not a big fan of that. I think we have a responsibility to due diligence. I think we have a responsibility to the wildlife, to Mother Nature, to be respectful and to appreciate what she's provided for us. It's our job to balance that. And I'm not a very smart man, but I was always taught in school, especially when it comes to math, if you want to keep an equation balanced, if you take from one side, you have to take from the other. So, say it respectfully, guys, it's not on anybody else's responsibility to take care of your problems. And I'm just saying it the right way. If you're going to go out there and hunt, you're going to kill deer, you're going to kill turkeys, you have an obligation to go back and balance that equation. Anybody disagree?
I think what you guys are talking about is the most important thing. People ask, you know, how you, probably the number one question I get is different again, how do you tag out turkeys every year? Because I'm heavy-handed on predators and nest predators. And people, they think, oh, the learning curve is too steep, I don't want to get involved with it. But once you really, it's so much fun, you know, once you get involved with it, it's really addictive, I think. But there is nothing, I think, more important than sharing trapping with youngins. Because if you can have raccoons or you can have turkeys, I mean, it's hard to have both. And there's nothing more important to management. State of Alabama, don't want to talk about my politics, but they spent $3.2 million on a program a year ago this past spring. They gave the results of the Conservation Advisory Board meeting. And they gave this really in-depth presentation with slides, and biologists were talking about it. Not one time during their presentation about what to do about declining turkey numbers in the state of Alabama did they mention predators. Not once. Nest graders and predators are the #1 reason why if you don't have turkeys. So get involved and talk to these guys and share this with your youngins, because at the rate things are going now, in a few more years, who knows, you know, if there's going to be turkeys or deer, or who knows. because there are more and more coyotes. There's coyotes now today where there never have been before, ever. So,
Well, it gets me when everybody tries to say, well, the state needs to offer this, the state needs to offer that, the state needs to do this, the biologists need to do that. Why are we going to keep pointing fingers?
that's right.
When are we going to accept responsibility for ourselves? You know, we're all willing to make the sacrifice to make sure our families spend every holiday during deer season at the camp. Am I right or wrong? Typically, that's what happens. Got nice deer, and I believe more kids should be raised in deer season. But it's such a priority during the season that our family's going to spend every holiday. We're going to take all this vacation to be there to deer hunt, but when the season's over, everybody gone bye-bye. We got to go to the beach. Johnny's got to play ball. We got all this other stuff going on. But we always found time to squeeze in a hunt. Well, turkey season rolls around. Any turkeys, the worst season ever. You know, didn't kill anything. All this. Guys, I'll tell you, the effectiveness of trapping, I don't like to discuss numbers. There's definitely no different pieces of property that I manage. But I can take you to a 4,000 acre tract right now, where if we don't kill 20 to 23 turkeys off of it a year, something's wrong. And that doesn't include the 5 or 6 misses that we have every year. Y'all hear the numbers I'm knocking down? I can show you pictures of 12 to 16 gobblers at a time. How did this happen? They made it out of the nest to live. That's right. And if they don't, you'll never have to worry about turkeys from the turkeys. So here's the nice thing about it. If we know that our deer hunters are in there before us, and they putting all these bait piles over there, why not the week after deer season? Just find out where everybody. I don't care what you're doing. I don't even care about deer hunting. I want to utilize what you have. In fact, if you don't have the dog-proof traps, I'll let you borrow mine. I'll go in there and give you a bounty on it just to keep me from having to do it. And then everybody gets a little something out of
There
it.
ain't too much better fun with a kid and exercise. Man,
Absolutely.
There's so much exercise. I would be 400 pounds by that trap, to be honest with you. I love the heat. I walk it. I walk carrying buckets and tools. I don't drive. Part of it, I like to walk so I can look for tracks more. Part of it is the roads are rough. And another part is just being alone with your kid, just walking in the woods and talking about school and life. It's fun. I mean, it's nothing better, especially on a frosty morning. You walk up and you just think about it all night. And then you got a big old pretty gray fox or a big coyote in your trap next morning. That's awesome.
You go and talk about, Jared was talking about turkey hunting. And I happen to do a little bit of that. And to say it respectfully, you know, a lot of folks talk about turkey didn't gobble. Why are you going to kill a turkey that doesn't gobble? It's got homework. Homework. If you don't do your homework, you're not going to be as successful, guys. And that's one thing. It doesn't matter if it's Eddie Salter or Ben Rogers Lee. The guys that were the most successful do the most homework. Period. And if you're just counting on going out there and hearing that turkey gobble to kill him, you might as well go find something else to do. I happen to be in the business of killing turkeys, so I have to know where they are, where they want to be. So I start out February, late February. I'm always walking through the woods. I just want to hear where they are, where they want to be, where their roosting sites. All that's going to change within the next couple of weeks anyway. But if you don't have a turkey, you'll never kill a turkey. It goes back to predation. And that's how important it is. Once we started controlling our nesting predators, our turkey populations exploded. In 2020, we caught in 31 different turkeys right here in Alabama. You know, and we can do that year after year. And we do that, and I 100% attribute that to predation, habitat development, and maintenance. Just those two factors right there will help everything in the world. Over food sources and everything else. You've got to have a place for a hen to feel comfortable, where she can nest. Everybody says, man, I'm loaded with turkeys during the fall and winter, and then springtime comes, I don't ever have any. You know, and we got this, we got food plots, we got clover, but all the turkeys are gone. What's your habitat look like? Oh, it's hardwood, wide open, hardwood canopy, wide open. Where's your hen gonna nest in that? She won't. So she's gonna go find the thickest area she can for that. And there's a lot, we can get off into different shrubs, trees, and different things, and vegetation, and cover crops, things along those lines. It's like these fields out here. Usually at the beginning of every fall, before we start planting food plots, we'll go in and do our mow. We'll mow after the fawns have already been developed and able to elude, get out of the way, unless the late fawn. But when the spring is coming up and through the summer months, we'll take these fields before they ever get real tall, and we'll start going through our fields with what we call S-cuts. And we'll literally weave through these fields in sharp manners, going back and forth, leaving everything else this tall. You're like, well, what are you doing that for? We're developing cover. We're developing feeding zones. What happens when you know and realize what it's like for a holt to look at the world, or his point of view? Get on the ground, lay your head down, and then that's exactly what he sees. That's his point of view. How can he see in this? He can't. He can't feed in that. He can only hide in that. So if you take these S-cuts and you keep manicuring, they'll get out of those S-cuts and they're only pushed off wide. So a colt or a fawn can easily jump into that. He can bug, he can eat, he can get whatever he needs. And God forbid a hawk fly over or a wily coyote come running through. Coyote can't look down that long road and see it. A hawk might be able to, but guess what? He's in that little cutover, he senses predator, boom, he jumps right in that tall thick stuff, scurries away. But most people don't even think about an S-cut, don't even know what it is. But it's there to help. It's all called habitat. We can do a lot to help develop our habitat, but probably the most critical increment of this whole program or this whole puzzle is trapping. And I would encourage any of you, all of you, to get involved. Richards makes a starter kit that you can buy at Bass Pro Shop. It comes with 6 dog-proof traps and everything you need for like $100. $100 won't even buy you a tank of gas anymore.
So you can get a 6-pack of them traps and dog proofs for, I don't know what it is, but you go to Amazon. They even have Amazon. Free shipping.
They got them up at the co-op.
Okay.
Yeah. But Richards has a starter kit that literally has the cables, it has the whatever, everything you need, $100.
A few things I was going to tell you I forgot about, something to put your bait in and strap it to the back. And all that does is give that coon a little bit more to tussle with just for a second. Because I have them go right over there, step over the pan, get the bait, and they go out, the can's over here, and the bait's gone, and the door's still open every time. You put this on there, you poke a hole in it with a nail or something, and put it to the back of the trap, and that way they have to kind of work it, or even a roll around can, and that works. Another thing I was going to tell you real quick is these right here are very handy. These easy drags, whatever they call them, easy pull or something, pocket drag. They call any kind of work. Whenever you get 2 or 3 coyotes, and if you're a walker like me, they get heavy, and you're out there and you're carrying your tools, and it's just, you know, you just put them on there just like a turkey toad or a deer drag or anything, hogs, whatever. These are a lifesaver. I've even put 2 feet or 2 different coyotes in here, a foot in each, and they're just dragging behind us. It's a lot better to carry. That's another tip I was going to tell you.
Y'all see this crawfish right here? Anybody like to eat crawfish? They come into season in January, right?
You need to have a crawfish bowl.
Oh, I think it's a great idea. How many people get done with their crawfish and throw the hell of holes away? That's what everybody does, right?
Dove feathers too, dove carcass.
Well, see, guys, at that time of year, we're going to start targeting our nesting predators anyway, right? Just take some of this leftover holes. That's all you have to have. You can put that leftover hole in a dog-proof trap. Man already told you the best bait, the best lure, not bait, the best lure for the coon is the crawfish hole. Well, what's the next best thing? The real one. So,
combine them.
You're out there already going to the crawfish pool. You don't have to have but a few. Yeah, they stink. Put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer until you get done. Or until you get ready to use them. Most importantly, today, Jared, thank you. Todd, thank you for what y'all are doing. You know, we just appreciate all you guys coming out and being a part of this. And hopefully we can do more of it. But
Every one of y'all is special because y'all were here at the first one. It means the world to every single one of y'all is here. Every one of y'all is important to me.
Thank y'all. And guys, if there's anything that we can do to help y'all, I personally want to make myself available to anyone. If you need my help, I'm on social media. Send me a message. You can come get my phone number right now. I'm not afraid to help you. That's why we're here.